We're keeping a close eye on these stories and plenty others for you this Monday morning, including developments coming out of the State Capture Commission of Inquiry, which is set to resume today. We heard over, the tail end of last week, testimony from Transnet officials. In particular, we heard from former Transnet board chair, that's Mafika Mkhwanazi, and Mafika is expected to wrap up his testimony today. He has in the past implicated the Guptas for being, involved in a dodgy tender that has to do with advertising in the New Age, which of course we know is a newspaper article or publication that was owned by the Gupta family. Interesting and worth noting for the week ahead is that former Minister Nomvula Mokonyane is also expected to take the hot seat, so to speak, at the State Capture Commission of Inquiry. You'll remember her name coming up when Angela Grizi, former Bosasa chief executive, also took the stand, implicating her in receiving all kinds of deals in Gucci bags. I remember some of those headlines having a field day, really, with some of the puns insofar as that is concerned. So look out for that testimony. We're also expecting Gwede Mantashe, who's the current energy minister, to take the stand, and his name has also come up. I remember in the past apparently getting some kind of security upgrades to one of his properties. The big question, though, around Mr. Mantashe is whether or not he will take the stand, considering that he's tested positive for the coronavirus. So many things to consider around the State Capture Commission of Inquiry. Our Nicholas Bauer keeping a close eye on that for us. In KZN, there's mounting concern about how the pandemic is affecting particularly health workers. Premier Sihle Zikalala telling us over the weekend that about 300 health workers from one institution, the Albert Lutuli Hospital, have tested positive for the virus. Now, this institution, you might remember, became, a site for a lot of attention when some of the healthcare workers went on strike. However, the health MEC in the province, Namagugu Simelane Zulu, has pushed back against some of the claims that some of the healthcare workers are making, saying in fact that part of the reason why there's such a widespread outbreak at that institution is because some of the healthcare workers aren't using the PPE correctly. This leaves a lot to be desired at the very least and raises all kinds of questions. If we can't get medical experts and medical health professionals using PPE correctly, what fighting chance do we have against this pandemic? Our Karinda Jagmahan, I imagine, is going to be posing these tough questions to the relevant people and bringing that story. Mbali Tetane will be keeping a close eye on how the alcohol ban has fared so far. It's been exactly a week since what people are calling with immediate effect, and those are the words that were used by the president when he announced the reinstatement of the alcohol ban. And so we want to take stock of whether or not there's empirical evidence suggesting that there's been an improvement, particularly among the hospital units, or trauma units to be more specific, because you'll remember a big argument for the reinstatement of this alcohol ban was centered largely on the impact that it's having on our hospitals. The Chris Hani Baragwanath Hospital is one of those institutions that we understand were hardest hit. Mbali Tetane will head on over there to give us a sense of whether there's been any impact. A story worth watching out of Mpumalanga has to do with a court case in connection with the killing of Prince Manzini. He'd been an ANC councillor in Mpumalanga who was murdered, we understand, earlier this year during a branch meeting. It appears on the face of it that the discord within the ANC in that province spilled over into scuffles that claimed his life. 5 suspects in connection to that killing are now expected in court today. Mbuli Masilela will be there. It's important to stress, though, that we don't really have much information on who these 5 people are and whether or not they even are ANC members, but we'll certainly bring you those details as soon as they are confirmed. And a story unfolding in the world of sports has to do with the future of the PSL. Will we finally have live soccer games back again in action in the country? And what's interesting here, of course, is the squabbles that are playing out between SAFA and the PSL. Some people telling us that it's about the flexing of different muscles as people try to ensure that it is clear who is in control insofar as the sporting code is concerned. So our Pilasani Seklaba will be speaking to SAFA CEO Tebogo Motante and getting us some of the stories behind the headlines. So it's a busy news day, as you can see, plenty coming your way throughout the course of the day. So make sure you keep it locked to Newzroom Afrika, channel 405.